Nope. Hey, this is Adam Post, creator of the comic book series College of the Dead, publisher of more than 1,000 comics. I like to throw my hands up when I do that because it's a lot of comics. But today, I'm really excited to be focusing on Steven's project, Dusty Tortillas, Back in the Saddle. This is a comic that I've seen around for a while. I've talked to Steven about for a while, and I'm just kind of excited to get to talk to him about it. We're going to focus on him one-on-one. Oh, wow, that's great. Hey, Ace Acevedo, how you doing, man? Great to see you. Great to see you. Big supporter of comics and COMICSGATE, and big supporter of all of us. But anyway, great to see you, Steven, and thanks for joining to talk about the project.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent, man. Excellent. I wanted to really get right into it. I wanted to talk about your background in comics. I don't think I've ever heard you talk about like how you first got into making comics. We all love comics. We all buy comics and read comics, but how did you start to get into making your own comics? Is this the first one?
This is the first one I've even ever considered publishing. Uh,
Cool.
anybody who's interested in comic books, you draw them, early on as a kid and stuff like that. I think the first one that I ever created, I was something like 4. It was called Duo, based on Batman and Robin. Of course, that's completely irrelevant.
No, not at all, man. I mean, I got started drawing the Hulk, and it was really messy, and I never really, I don't know, you get a little better over time, but I never really, it just didn't click for me.
I would have to
Um,
say that my style and artwork has not improved since,
okay,
yeah,
since being a kid.
in the last 20 some odd years.
Okay, well,
um,
that's all right. But you're not drawing this comic. This comic's drawn by other people. You're a writer and a creator.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, how I got into this is my brother Brendan asked me to,
Hmm.
and it's pretty much as simple as that. He Because we're writing it together, and he had this concept for something called Dusty Tortillas, and he was like, can you write it with me? And I said yes, and that's really the
Very
long
interesting.
and short of how I
That's
got
the
into it.
And there'll probably be many more projects to come from you and or your brother working together. And you guys are also self-publishing this through Wayward Comics. That's right, right?
Yes, that's our brand.
Very
There was
cool.
there was actually 2 when we first started getting into this. I was thinking about the classic cover. What's on it. You've got things like your barcode, your issue number, the title, but there's always a window in the corner that tells you which company it is. And so I had 2 ideas. It was Wayward and Ronian, because I wanted it to kind of symbolize that it's anti-establishment, maybe not exactly counter-establishment.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe not truly counter-establishment, but nowhere near the big 2 whatsoever, off the beaten path entirely.
Straight up
Uh,
hardcore indie.
right. So
A-
I liked the term Ronian better. Brendan, what
As in Ronin, the
huh?
Wandering Samurai.
I pronounce it Ronian. I don't know which one's right.
Okay. I don't know. I've heard Ronian. It's
Yeah,
tomato, potato,
right.
potato.
Although that's got
It
to
all
be
tastes
taken by
good.
now.
It all tastes good. Ronin.
Ronians Ronians taste great. They're a little salty because they
Hmm.
exercise a lot,
They
but
do.
that's not a mark against them.
No. That keeps them in shape and nice and tender.
Exactly.
I like it. I like it. All right. So that's the background of the company. That's the background of you and comics and getting into it. So this was your brother's idea originally, and then you developed it with him.
Yeah. So basically, what happened? It's a story that I've told a number of times. He was literally eating a breakfast taco. He was working in Houston a few years ago, and he was eating a breakfast taco off of a taco truck. There was too much cornmeal on it. He said, "Damn, these are some dusty tortillas." He texted me almost immediately, and then when he got off his shift, we basically started developing it that night.
Oh, that's cool. He had the inspiration. So now, in terms of the genre, obviously it's Western as a given.
Mhm.
And I've seen some really cool artwork. So let me get back to the page of the artwork and can kind of show some of the artwork while we're talking. Um, it's also I was on a stream with you. I think you were talking about how it's has a nice sense of humor to it as well. It's fun.
Yeah, that was important to us early on, just because of the name of the character. There wasn't We weren't going to be able to play it 100% straight. Um, that being said, the book doesn't look that funny, does it? No, no description of it. None of the artwork that we have as a promotion looks particularly funny.
No, it's
Um,
well, you have action in it, but it's
right.
almost like is it like Blazing Saddles with a badass western?
Oh, definitely. That's how
Okay.
um, one of the guys we work with described it, is that it's Blazing Saddles, as directed by Quentin Tarantino.
That's very descriptive. Well, it gives people a flavor for it. It gives them a sense of what they're getting involved with.
Oh, certainly.
Um, and
Now, the thing about it looking like everything's being played straight is, I think, is actually pretty important to the comedy. Whereas the comedy can be pretty tongue in cheek, and it also has to do with the violence. But I've always thought that the things that are the least funny in the world are the things that call themselves out as funny. If It's stuff like, okay,
like
and
breaking the fourth wall kind of thing.
not only that, but okay, here's a weird example.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so Tom Arnold did a movie a long time ago based on a children's book series called The Stupids. And everybody, and the humor was just that everybody in the family was terribly stupid, and so it got them into trouble. And ha ha ha, everyone's stupid. You can tell, it's in the title. It's dumb. When everything is marketed, when everything about a project is marketing itself as funny, you're just asking people to question whether or not it's funny.
Yeah.
So we wanted to set, so while the title's pretty silly, we wanted to set a baseline of high action and violence, basically, so that when the humor starts to shine through, it's a little bit more surprising.
That's cool. And that's what makes things funny sometimes. You get it caught out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Very interesting. So tell me that. So that's the genre of this, and this is going to be. I don't want to start saying the wrong number. This is a color comic. How many pages is this going to be?
We're planning in 28 pages, and the Indiegogo is actually wrong. Because 28 pages was actually stretch goal that we hit the previous time. This is this is an additional round of funding,
Hmm. It's like
because
a little extra funding, but you already had success on your prior funding, which is fantastic. This is just like a
right.
little icing on the cake.
It's icing on the cake, because we added an additional artist.
Hmm.
We're taking a little extra time to make the comic better. And the comic, because we're working with a great colorist, Michael Beacon.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Seven Legions. You're not exaggerating. That guy is off the hook. His coloring is fantastic.
oh, it's so
I
beautiful.
had him on the other night, and I was like, "This is," I just kept going back to it, like it was some girl in a bikini or something. I just kept looking at like he had these ninjas flying and something like that. I mean, it was just beautiful oranges like this, oranges and black, and unbelievable work.
Adam,
This is
were
the
you
prior
enjoying
one.
were you enjoying some private time?
I
Is that what it was?
my time is always public time. That's the late night live streams.
Oh God. Okay.
This is the first. Well, I'm going to be on with Cecil one of these days soon, so I got to get ready. So this is the original campaign where you guys raised almost $5,000 US, which is great. And this is you way exceeded your goal. This is when it finished. It was at 4,554, and then you were in demand for a while and raised some more money with that, and then you're doing this additional campaign. So you're well funded for what you need to accomplish, but you want more people to read your story. I know the same feeling. I'm still in demand with my College of the Dead project, and I just want as many people to get the book as possible.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I got this weird thing. Sorry.
Not at all.
We definitely want more people to check out the book, and I think it's important to talk about the previous campaign, just so everybody knows.
Good. All
We're
right.
sitting at less than 50%. on the current one, no reason to be intimidated. You buy into this project today. You have 40 hours left. You buy into this project today. You're getting your book. You
Well,
know,
this is already a flexible goal.
right?
All the work is being finalized now anyway, all the art and editorial, all the design and all that stuff. And you've already been funded. A flexible goal means you're going to get this money, the $681 plus whatever happens in the last 39 hours. But yeah, absolutely. The same thing happened with my campaign is sometimes people do misunderstand because they see a flexible and they relate it to being fixed, and maybe it's not enough of the flexible. It's like, no, this would have been fine if you would have raised $100. You might have been a little disappointed, but you still would have been delivering to everybody. Everybody's
Absolutely.
getting delivered, no question. Do
Absolutely.
you want to talk about the old? You want to stay on the old campaign? Talk about it a little bit, or I mean, there's really not much to see here.
No, no,
This is the
no.
old stuff. Okay, so
That's all
that
I really
deals
do.
with where we came from and the fact that this is just a slight expansion rather than doing in demand.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about kind of the story of the book now. We understand the genre and the history and the background and the format. Let's talk about the story. There's Dusty Baker.
Yes.
So what's Dusty Baker doing here?
Dusty Baker, aka Dusty Tortillas, is a young kid, 18 years old, living in the fictitious town of Melville, Kansas. He works as a gunsmith's apprentice, and he also helps out his mother Blanca with the only tortilleria in town, possibly the only tortilleria in Kansas.
Good Lord. That is
And
quite a franchise.
and basically, because his father was an outlaw that ran out on him at an early age. His pa wasn't around, so the kids like to tease him about not really deserving his last name because there are no bakers in town.
He's not really a legit tortilla maker, they're saying.
Oh no, he's a legit tortilla maker. That's why they call him Dusty Tortillas.
Uh,
He's not
okay.
a legitimate baker because
Okay.
his father Thomas Baker isn't in the picture. He's basically a bastard.
That's rough business.
It's rough business, and they ridiculed him for it. But it's something that now he prefers it when people call him Dusty Tortillas.
Like Daredevil. He's like, I'm owning that. And
Precisely.
like COMICSGATE, actually.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm COMICSGATE, goddammit. You want to start something? Buy my
And
book.
and actually throughout the entire story, because we start with an assassination attempt, but this assassination attempt on the mayor of Melville, a one Fuller Pockets. This assassination attempt starts to unravel a deeper conspiracy, and linking it back to COMICSGATE. There's a very strong anti-establishment thread through this whole thing, which I think is important to any comic. Everybody feels that way. If you work in comics,
I have to just take a second to say, like, I have been in comics and related story development and some stuff a little bit in other media other than comics, based on comics. And I am so impressed to talk to people that are just like they have these writing backgrounds and they've been studying writing, and they speak about writing and thematic backgrounds of things like you're talking about, and you've not published comics before, you've not worked in comics before. So I'm almost like, where is this all coming from? Like even the Magic Cop guys, like Phil, who's the writer on that, is talking about all sorts of theory with writing, and I'm like, wow, where are people getting all these educations from? Von Klaus from Monster MD was in screenwriting school, and he's had work bought before, screenplays bought. Like, wow, there's so much talent here. It's amazing. Do you have some other extensive background in writing, or you've just been studying writing, or how?
my as a published author, my bibliography is relatively short. But it is the art through which I express myself.
Nice.
And I have just a bevy of character concepts, story concepts,
Wow.
both finished and unfinished short stories, etc. In my extended and quite frankly unpublishable portfolio, because it's very much like any other medium, that it's something that you practice at. It's something that you do because you love it.
Yeah.
I was working on this was 10 years ago. I was working on a short story, which was ironically enough a western. That's not ironic, but people like it when I say that.
Yeah.
Um, I was working on a short story, and this was 10 years ago. I was still very much developing my voice and my craft, and um, I remember that there was this one sentence, and I was writing it by hand because I'm an idiot. I was writing it by hand, and I kept writing the sentence and erasing it, writing the
Hmm.
sentence and erasing it, writing the sentence and erasing it. It was just never quite what it is, and that's when it clicked with me. I'm practicing. this
Yeah.
isn't this is an art that I'm practicing, and it hadn't clicked before that it might be something that I need to practice. The idea isn't strong enough on its own. You have to have these technical aspects to it, and then through um, exploring stories that I liked, and also researching online, reading things about writing and stuff like that. And you start to learn and develop your knowledge base for the style in the art of writing.
Well, thank you for that. You know, a heartfelt and well thought out response to that.
Well, it
I
sounded
really
that
like.
way.
Well, no, I like people. I really like when people. I understand where people are coming from and what they're trying to do, and I see myself in a lot of it because the first thing I ever did when I was 15 years old, I had no background. I just did a parody on GI Joe called GI Jackrabbits, and I did fully write it myself. And it was not my finest work. The concept was good. The concept was very good, but I want to redo it. I want to redo it my way. But what as I started publishing more and more comic books, what I started doing was I would come up with the idea for them, and then I would work with a writer who I felt was very good in the anatomy of writing and the discipline and the ability to execute on an idea and add something of their own to it. Even just it always fascinates me, like just using the framework of writing and the principles of writing. You attach that to a cool idea, and before you know it, the thing just grows organically on its own into something amazing. But it takes a lot of work to write, obviously. So I like to be able to come up with an idea which is kind of something from nowhere, sounds like it's cool and commercial, and then collaborate with other people. There's a guy who I really want to work with, and I've spoken with him a little bit. He seems like he's going to be great to work with. Professor Geek is
Hmm.
his YouTube channel. Michael Kreiser, I believe, is his actual name. I just like calling him Professor Geek. He's got some great writing tutorials and backgrounds in writing. He is an actual professor. He teaches people writing comic books, and he does a series on archetypes. Classic versions of characters that we see throughout literature, and also how they relate to comic book characters. But he is also available for editing. And every time I talk about writing, I think of him because I feel like working with someone like him, it's so great to get like, well, what's your take on this? And he'll just give you, he gives you a background on something, and then he'll tell you like, look, this is where I think this has potential. And this is where I think this doesn't. If you had a list of like 6 or 7 ideas that you were playing with, and that's kind of where I'm at. Um, I would definitely, talk to him. He's very reasonable on rates too. He's publishing some rates. I would talk to him and be like, look, could you kind of give me a quick look at this and assessment? What would that cost? And kind of give you a background. But there's nothing wrong with working with an editor and having an editor finish your work, if it's something you want to do. And I'm not telling it just to you, of course. I'm just kind of expressing this for the audience that can kind of relate to this, because they have ideas and they shouldn't let themselves be limited. They should be like Steven, and they should work on those ideas, and they should work as much as they need to work with someone else. Let them give feedback, and maybe it's not for you, writing, but then again, kind of maybe it is. You just a matter of getting some of that experience, whether you get it on your own or you get it collaborating with somebody else. Tommy is here to say hi. Oh, I like Tommy always has to contribute. Cooperation is cool. Two brains bake great cake. Well, that is true. That is true. And Tommy's from Finland, and he always finds time to promote and support independent comics. He's just a terrific guy. All right.
That sounds
Well,
like a European saying. I'd like to hear that in his native language. I bet there's a lot of poetry to it.
he's European people are just terrific, terrific people. People from other cultures are terrific. Americans are amazing, and we do a lot for the world. But at the same time, there's some great other cultures, and yeah, that's one of the other great things about comics and the indie comic scene is. I know people now from the UK more, and from the Philippines and Scotland, and just great people, Finland, all over the world, who are just cool people, and everybody kind of contributing in their own way. Liam Gray is another writer to keep an eye on from Australia. He has a cool project called Xenotype coming up. It's not published yet, but he's talking about it a lot on Twitter. So let's talk a little bit more. I want to focus on you. Let's talk a little bit more about the story. Like, did we do a good job of covering the story? I mean, he's going to be he's obviously shooting at people. Who's this guy behind him with the guns?
The guy on the cover art.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at YouTube. Yeah. Okay. So behind him, that is the sheriff of his town, who actually helped in hunting down his father, Thomas Baker. He's been a lawman in Melville since before Dusty was born, and has served as a mentor character, the aptly named Sheriff Pat Trousers.
Very nice. Dusty Tortillas and Pat Trouser. And is Dusty funny? Like, are the characters kind of all funny, or are there just a couple characters who are like, this guy is really funny?
I would say the only character that has a real sense of humor is Myrtle Lynx.
Okay.
Who's the owner and operator of the Grindstone, the house of ill repute in the city of Melville.
That's where this fine lady works. This is artwork. Now this is artwork by Simon Poitier, right?
Yes. Yeah. This also was a print.
Sim.
Hail Sim. This is a print that he actually donated to us as a promotional piece. He was like, "Hey, I'm just giving out artwork," and the genius behind that is that I haven't been on a stream since he's done that where I haven't said his name, not once. So it's actually been very very good for him, and it's been very very good for us because it's just beautiful.
It is beautiful. She looks like a really interesting character. Do we see much of her in the book?
In this one is a 28-page floppy.
Mm-hmm.
And she is introduced, but not well developed in the first story. The first story,
we're gonna get people interested in her, and they're gonna want to see a lot more of her in future issues, maybe even her own book. What's this character's name?
Myrtle Lynx. Myrtle Lynx.
Okay, so she owns the place, so she's tough.
Definitely.
Nice.
But she's not catty. But she's personable. She's got a quick wit and a sharp tongue, because her establishment, as it was in many towns in the developing West, the brothels, the inns, places like that. These were the cultural centers. They are also the economic centers, which is why she's a character that had to be featured. I think when you're writing a story, you can, like, you're allowed to put characters in that don't play a big role, but I don't like to, just because I when it comes to realism, like in everybody's life, there are people that don't matter. People that you've got zero stories about, and those people, you never talk about them. Yeah, they exist in your life, but you never talk about them. And
right, they're not part of your arc, really. Like the bus driver. Like, all right, well, they drove me on the bus, and some bus drivers are very, very important, but they should be germane to the story.
Exactly.
Like the weather. Sometimes the weather is relevant, and the weather is the story. Sometimes it's not. I like things to be coherent too. And obviously things are happening on a timetable where events are happening. Usually on a quick amount of time in people's life, and dramatic things that are relevant are happening, and you don't see like boring conversations with strangers about nothing, because it doesn't move the story forward.
Precisely. With Myrtle Lynx, we knew that we wanted to add a fair amount of sex appeal to the book. And so
she's got it.
She definitely does. So we wanted to make sure that the sex appeal of the book was also relevant. So we went ahead and made her the owner and operator of the brothel. So that she's got more to do. She has she has a fair amount of political clout. You would call her pretty much the chief economic advisor in the town of Melville.
How cool.
Um, so she's got her fingers in a lot of pies. Pun intended.
Pun intended.
Pun
Got
intended.
got it. We could take that multiple ways because this is COMICSGATE.
Mhm.
All right. I need to know. Let's talk about the perks. Obviously, this is something that people should be backing. They should be giving this a shot. First of all, the estimated shipping is January 2020. So we're going to get everything together prior to prior to the beginning of the year, and then ship in January right after Christmas. What a great present to yourself or to someone else to get. What a fun thing for right after the holidays. So this is called the Telegram, and this is Digital Dusty.
Yes,
And this is a digital copy of the book.
that's it.
Very cool. Very simple. Very straightforward. All right. What else we got? The double barrel. Unsigned, digital copy, and your name mentioned on a thank you page. All right.
Yeah,
Very straightforward.
it was Brendan's
Yes.
idea to put the cute names on everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on the fence about it because it means you have to click stuff to figure out what stuff is, but it's okay.
Yeah. Oh no. It's not hard. You believe me. We all know what this is. Although it's good for new people too. But we know when you're saying digital dusty or the Telegram, like we kind of get it. You're sending it I mean, it's very clever actually. You could put in parentheses maybe next time digital edition if you want. But
Right.
I got it immediately. Obviously by the price and the title you can see what it is. But it's just good to make sure they know what they're buying. That's all. And you do here the unsigned copy, a digital copy, and a mention on a thank you page. Very straightforward, very easy to understand. The custom double barrel, so a little special and customized. The signed copy, digital copy, and a mention on the thank you page, which mostly it seems like that's what people like.
Mhm.
And then you've got 3 of a kind. I don't know what the heck that is, but let's see. Signed copy, digital copy, pinup poster, which is going to be 1117. And that's like A3 to the other people, overseas. Now, I don't know what the A letters are, but I always say that to the fun people from overseas. I had the Mary Boys guy on, Carl, who is a great project also. But yeah, I was like, what size is your print going to be? He's like, I'm like, don't tell me it's some letter number thing. He's like, well, it is A3. I'm like, all right, so it's as big as a comic or bigger. By the time we finally figured it out, honestly, I'm not sure I completely figured it out at the end, but I do trust them.
Why does it? It's like women's clothing. You'll come back with a 00, and they're like, oh, that's pretty big. Like, why? Just say how big something is.
If you would. No, and he is from his perspective, but we don't know the language, and so we adjusted, we figured it out. Well, it's also when they have non-USD campaigns and it's like 18.3 euros. Like, all right, well, wait, I don't feel like I'm ever going to get it because I don't even understand the currency. But Mary Boys, you're going to get Deathsworn, you're going to get all those guys, terrific guys who you could really just see it that they want to produce the books. Also, when people put the hashtag COMICSGATE near their name, one thing about them is they're part of a group of other publishers, and I'm part of that group as well. And we help each other. So there's no one who has a production problem that I don't make myself available to, whether it's an issue with preparing files to be printed or knowing who a printer is or whatever it is. I'm available to everybody. But it's not, and I produce more than 1,000 comics, every possible format, probably printed in almost every country. But mostly everybody knows what they're doing, but if they ever have a question, we're always available to each other. And
Actually, I'm glad you said that because I have a favor to ask you.
Well, we talked a little the other day, you and me, about printers.
Could for the sequel? Could you do the book?
Yeah,
we're tired.
I have a creative team we're going to put on it.
Excellent.
Yeah. I have well, you know what? Really straightforward. I have been looking at. I want to start doing some projects where when I see talent, we're able to bring them in and immediately put them on something. So I've had a few people that I would love to hire to do different things, but I don't have work for them at the moment because the formats and things like I don't want to take Javier Aranda off of College of the Dead. We've got book 1 done, and book 2 is done, and we're doing final files on that one too, actually. But it's not offered yet. Be offered in a couple of months. But I don't want to take him off of College of the Dead, but I do want to try to bring other people on. So I'm going to leave him with College of the Dead, but I want to, as you find other talent, you want to put them on other projects. So one of the great things is just in the comics community, CG Jumpstart is coming out, and Simon has a couple of projects in there, but a couple of other COMICSGATE guys do as well. So when someone has time to do like a 10-page story, and because there's always downtime in between projects for creative people, usually it's great to have something ready you can give them. But anyway, if you want help finding a creative team, I'm happy to help you. I mean, I really do know a lot of people. So, Three of a Kind, which we did discuss already, but just to review, because I got us a little off track. Sorry about that. Signed copy, digital copy, pinup poster that is 11/17, and a mention on the thank you page. That is a very cool package. And the Gunslinger is the ultimate badass package. You can tell because of the title. You get the signed copy, the digital copy, the 11/17 pinup poster, a mention on the thank you page, and a custom sketch card. That is pretty cool.
An original piece of artwork sent right to you.
And the sketch card is going to be of, do they get to choose what they want drawn on it?
We're gonna leave that up to the artist.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna be character concepts, places around Melville, things in the background that you don't normally see, or it could be a title character.
Nice. And then you have an original piece of work that goes along with it.
Yes.
All right. Since I've mentioned it like 16 times, I'll just go through College of the Dead, my project, so people get to kind of see what I'm doing over here. I don't know if that worked. Can you see the College of the Dead on the screen? I guess you can. Oh my God, it worked. High technology. Well, I'll tell you what it's about. So the College of the Dead is my 140-page zombie apocalypse graphic novel. It takes place on a college campus. That part was my idea. I was like, all right, why are there no zombie apocalypse stories set on a college campus so that you could see college students who are already very dramatic and like they've like sort of just becoming adults. They have a lot of things to go through. They have, just different issues as young people that adults have. And you see college students with professors thrown together as they're fighting off zombies and trying to survive. And I'd never seen it. And I was like, all right, that's a typical me thing. I see something I think is cool. No one else is doing it. I'm doing it. So I got Javier Aranda to work with Stefan Petruca. Javier is the artist and Stefan is the writer. Stefan's written a lot of comics in the past. One of his coolest things was a long run that he did on X-Files, working with Charlie Adlard, actually, the zombie supernatural artist for Walking Dead. And they did a long-running series. He's done a lot of supernatural stuff. I really like his approach to characterization, how the characters really feel like real people. And he did a fantastic job on this graphic novel. I got Kyle Ritter to color the cover, which was like a dream come true for me because I love Kyle's work. He was available. This is exactly what I was talking about before. He was available for a short amount of time. Like a couple of months, he was taking some commission work because he just had some downtime on some Cyberfrog pages. And I jumped in there like, can you do this for me? And yes, I can. And very reasonable fee and just a great, super talented guy to work with.
That's what always makes this a scary and arduous business, is that you never know exactly where the next meal ticket's coming from.
Well, you don't do this a lot of people that are doing independent publishing now, they can't really do it as a career. No. It's not appropriate to do it as a career because you have to kind of get momentum going. You have to figure out who your customer base is, what works, what doesn't work, make sure that you have the money to pay everybody and that make sure everything is done properly and planned in advance carefully, because if it's not done properly, something that otherwise could have been a profitable project and probably would have paid, your mortgage or rent for a couple of months, it gets eaten up in inefficiencies of like, oops, we thought the printer could do this, but they can't. So we got to find a new printer, and oops, they're twice as expensive. And it happens to all of us, even on finalizing College of the Dead, there were surprises that our printer threw at us, and we're finalizing those surprises now. I told people we were going to be ready to ship in October because we were going to be ready to ship in October. But truthfully, I would have liked to ship in September, and there's almost no reason why we couldn't ship in September, except that one of the printers, the printer that we expected to work with, threw something wacky at us at the last minute, and it threw everything out of balance. So now instead of shipping early, we're going to ship on time. But
is it a rubber chicken?
It
Did he
was
throw a rubber
it was a
chicken?
rubber chicken and whipped cream and a crazy little hula dance. But that's just a pre-production thing. It's just like it should be a nothing. But anything that prevent there's no such thing as like really 99% done to me. It's either 100% done or it's not done. There's no like 99% done. There's nothing wrong with communicating and saying, hey, we've got 80% of the pencils and inks done or whatever it might be, and almost all the colors done or whatever. But you never want to pretend that last piece that might be incredibly trivial, but that the last piece is not a big deal. It's always a big deal until it's done. You always want to build in extra time, and you want to work and plan things in advance as much as possible. So I'm just very passionate about the production part. Obviously, this is the cover of the Zombie Apocalypse series, College of the Dead, Book Two. Book Two's cover. Oh my goodness, what is this? It's obviously zombie college students, which is like a statement on students today in college. I have had teachers and professors tell me that, and I wasn't my intention, but I think that's kind of cool. And
I mean,
everybody seems to like the art.
it's definitely true. I was a college student not too long ago, and I can tell you how I relate to this is stress.
Ah,
College is terribly stressful.
yeah,
I was working on top of it, which I actually had a teacher tell me, "Don't work while you're taking my class." She actually told me, "Don't
yeah.
take any other classes while taking my class because some teachers are that demanding."
Well, that's asking a little bit much. It's a
It's
little
asinine.
bit much.
Oh, everybody hated her.
But you see why I love Javier Aranda and why I don't want him to go a day and not have something to do. If he doesn't only work with me. He's worked with other publishers in other countries. He's based in Spain, but he's also worked for I guess IDW, and was doing the Ninja Lego thing for another publisher, and he did some
Okay.
work for DC in the past. A lot of different stuff, but every talented artist that whomever they are, they usually do have some downtime here and there. So once you get a relationship going or you want to pursue a relationship, think about like little bits and pieces of things that you can have them do. But we're working on the script. We're just about to start to work on the script for College of the Dead 3 because I don't want any downtime for Javier to be missed. All right, so this is 12 pages of story and art. It is black and white, and each page is 2 panels, and it lists it goes through each of these pages. It's sequential, so you can kind of follow the story when you're looking just even at this listing on Indiegogo. A friend of mine was like, "Why don't you put more pages up?" So I put a lot of pages up, and you can really kind of follow what's going on, and you'll see the way Stefan wrote, and also the simplicity of the 2 panels per page. That was kind of part of the design. I wanted to try it. It really does draw you into the story. There's very little interpretation of like, oh, I am reading a comic book. It doesn't take you out of the story. It keeps you in the story by having that 2 panel per page thing. But if you get the book and you look at how you like it for yourself. I'm not necessarily recommending it to other people that they should just do 2 panel pages. Do what works for you, but experiment with this too and look what a simplicity of layout can contribute to storytelling. You'll find that it's interesting. And we
The
also
first
have,
time,
yeah, go ahead, buddy.
the first time that I met you, we were actually talking about how that's been beneficial to you as far as digital marketing is concerned, because it's very easy for you to just pull one panel and say, "Hey, everybody, look at this."
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's actually true. And that is why also when I did this, and because I started this a couple of years ago with these guys. Um, I wanted to be in a position where we could have individual panels that we could share on social media, and I did quite a bit of that, and it did create interest in it. It didn't necessarily create people who wanted to buy it, and that's different. So promotion is not the same as sales, and it's important to be talking to buyers and not just people who are going to click on something and like it or even share it for whatever their reasons are. Doesn't mean they always want to buy it. And it's not like, well, you only don't care about people. If people appreciate it, it's great that they appreciate it. But if you're going to put resources in and start planning formats and things like that and tailor a product, it has to be for the customer. All of this is for the customers. Everything that we do is to tell a great story for the readers that want to be entertained. And they're always the boss. They're always number one. They tell us what they like and what they don't like. College of the Dead has a few really great pages by Stefan that are explaining the main characters. Chloe Manning and Professor Elena Demikoff. She's a Russian professor, and then her daughter, and there are more pages than this describing the characters as well. And I like those character backgrounds so you understand where people are coming from in the beginning. It's just a cool introduction, and I like people to understand inherently there's been a lot of thought put into the story, and you'll see that. It reads very well. A lot of people have asked me, like, well, is this going to be a TV show or a movie? And I'd love for it to be. And I've gotten some interest from a couple of friends that I know from my uh, days with Platinum Studios. I've talked about it a little bit, but the most important thing is that it's a comic series and that it's a well done comic. That's always been my focus. But sure, if we can make millions off of a movie, somebody's got to replace The Walking Dead and do a good job on it. So we could do that.
There's been an observation going around about a lot of projects that get started today that are super simplistic. One, so that it's easy to cosplay, and two, it's easy to make a series out of. And
you know what's funny? I should have, I'm sure, but I've never heard about that easy to cosplay. That's a great point.
That's Miss Marvel and the current Batgirl were both designed with cosplay in mind.
Designed with cosplay in mind. I even like how it rhymes. I have plans for a female character. I was actually talking to Tommy about earlier. Tommy in our chat. Tommy's great people. He's somebody I'm looking forward to chatting a little bit with every day. But yeah, I was telling him I'm planning a female superhero character, and I've been thinking about designs and who I want to start talking to work on it and start getting some stuff moving on it. And I had not even contemplated cosplay.
Well, my perspective on it is that, as long as it's a comic book, go balls to the wall. There's everything's got to be drawn anyway. So it doesn't matter how grandiose it is. Drawing a space station versus drawing a 2-bedroom house, it costs the same.
Well, yes, but there's a small aspect to that, is that you do want to communicate with the creative team, especially if you're not an artist, and understand. Like, I was on with John Malin's channel talking to John and Render Contender. John had me on. It was very gracious of him, talking about College of the Dead once a couple of weeks ago, and back when he could live stream, to be honest, in the old days. And Render Contender was saying how in his story, some of the characters have complicated tattoos that he has to draw, and the writer, and as writers and creative guys, we don't always think about, all right, well, we've got to design something and it's going to be intricate every time, and then there's got to be continuity, because you don't want his the character's tattoos to change.
Oh, so that's absolutely true. There was famously an iteration of Wolverine. There was I don't remember who it was, but he didn't like drawing the character, so he redesigned Wolverine on purpose to make him more complicated to draw, just because he was mad. He had like this like shark tooth.
Yeah, you can't. And that is a great example of self-destructive poor communication.
Exactly.
Because we can all do better when we're just straight with people. And I fail at it sometimes, and I always try to do better and better at it. Is let me try and see where someone's coming from and what they're trying to say. It's not always the words that they're saying; it's what do they mean. Mm-hmm. So you really want to like you were just talking about now, like, well, it doesn't cost anything. Like, that is true, but we always want to talk to the other people on the creative team who actually have to deliver and do their best and whatnot, because those are the guys. Honestly, you want a creative team that you can get their feedback, so everybody can do what's easiest for them, but is also has the most value for you. So they may be really good at drawing, certain kinds of weapons or whatever the heck it might be. And if that doesn't hurt what your story idea is, then let's let them draw those weapons, and that's where you benefit from looking at someone's portfolio and talking to them.
That's definitely true. And what I meant by it was just that as far as how grounded it needs to be when it's a comic book, I say go to 11 when it comes to how grounded it needs to be, because in a comic book it doesn't need to.
You want to limit it from cosplay. Although now you've really got me interested in this cosplay thing, and I'm thinking like, wow, maybe I want to like look at some enormous followings of cosplay girls that are ultimately we'd love to have do cosplay for the character and kind of collaborate with them on some of the design to see like what.
I've never seen that. I'll tell you that much. I have never seen. I've seen them design so that it's easier to cosplay. I've never seen anybody be like, we talked with some of the best cosplayers, and they thought it would be fun to wear this.
How cool would that be? How cool
Oh,
would that be?
what if you worked with? Oh, what if the cosplay came first? You worked with a cosplayer and you didn't put pen to paper once until the cosplay was done.
Well, it's just conversation. It's just conversations first. And, I'll tell you somebody who, it's funny how often this guy's name comes up with me. But again, Von Klaus from Monster MD, he had a business where he was supplying cosplay people. I don't know about it extensively, but I heard him talking with Eric Weathers from Flying Fortress, another great project, who letters everything in COMICSGATE, Eric Weathers, but he has his own book, Flying Fortress, which is still in demand. And they were talking about different stuff with making rubber figures or some wacky thing like that. And Vaughn kind of like knew all about it. I was like, Jesus, this freaking guy knows everything. Actually, I was talking with him about collaborating on a project about a month ago, but he's very busy and I'm always super busy, but still be fun to see what we could do. A horror related, like a high concept horror. All right, speaking of horror, I better get through this. This is important to confuse everybody. So College of the Dead, our featured tier, and I like the featured tiers. That might be something you want to think about is where you want to point people to. But a nice $50 price point is good. It's the 140-page black and white graphic novel, but there's also an additional 100-page book, which has 50 pages of the full script that Stefan wrote and 50 pages of layouts, of rough layouts, not the pages that were actually part of the comic, but the pages that we approved for rough layouts so that we knew that, yes, Javier has got the layout down. Javier had a chance to introduce ideas where he thought it was really important. Everything was approved. And that is how he translated the full script word for word to the layouts for the comics. And it's very interesting, that production material. Yeah, man. It's very interesting. In fact, in this video, my videos, again, thanks to Tommy, to be honest with you, in the chat, I had thought I created a video that talk about the prototypes of our comics, which show like the printed books of the Ashcan, the comic, and then later you'll see the art book, and it shows people like what the interiors look like. So that video is in the link to the description for College of the Dead, and it talks about, it's me talking about and actually showing on screen the pre-printed books of these actual books, not the final versions, but the near to final versions, so people could see what the layout is. But yeah, it's very cool for people to see the full script. And then we even have like the photographs that we were using as reference for Javier, provided by Stefan, are in the book. It really just looks terrific. And it's very educational, but it's very interesting to see the making of. So if for anybody that's looking at it from an educational point of view or is looking at it and you're like, wow, I kind of want to understand the whole process of College of the Dead, it is very cool reading to see how it's done. We have just the comic book for $25. And we also have a complete set of the comic book, the Ashcan, and this 35-page, that's 35-page, it's a 260-page, it's $35 additional.
Okay.
That's a 35 reference. I don't know why I thought of that, but it's 260 pages. It's square. It's 8.5 by 8.5, one panel per page. So like the full size of the artwork with no lettering on it. So people get to really fully see like, okay, these are the panels that we saw generated by the layouts and the script that came before in the Ashcan before any of the lettering on it. So if you like what Javier is doing with the art, and I've heard some terrific compliments on his work, and you want to see his stuff full size, it's 8.5 and 8.5, and it is really, it's exceptional. And that's why I made the book, these books in this extra format. We're not going to do that every time we do a new College of the Dead comic, but I want people to kind of see where it all came from and have the opportunity to see everything that I saw as it was getting made. Because making the comics for me, that's really what the satisfaction is making the book. And then you kind of have it. It's like, yeah, but I've seen this story like 100 times. So, occasionally you pick it up off the shelf and you kind of look at it again. But, for us who make these comics, we see them all come together. And that's a huge part of the excitement of doing this. Well, So that's you can find College of the Dead in the description, as well as that video of me talking excitedly about prototypes. Because hey, I love this stuff. What are you going to do? Um, Ballad of Dusty Tortillas, Back on the Saddle. This is the additional funding on the flexible goal, meaning the book's going to be delivered. The book is already funded. It was part of a larger campaign that already did $4,800, way beyond its initial goal, but they're adding more to it. They're making it a cooler book. And they raised a little bit of additional funding that's very necessary in publishing. Everything in business, and especially in publishing, always costs more than we think it does. But this book is getting delivered no matter what. If the flexible goal had reached $100, it still would have been delivered. But definitely back the book. At least share it. And hey, if you're going to back it, do this for us too. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. I've shared this book probably 50 times over the last month or however long. And I believe in the project. I respect Brendan, well, and his brother, who I have on now, Stephen, as creators and self-publishers. And as you asked before, if you ever wanted any help putting a book together or any feedback or suggestions, anybody that's got hashtag COMICSGATE is part of a group of people that are out to help each other, please the fans, respect the fans, and deliver books. And just as a little COMICSGATE update, I saw on Twitter earlier, I don't have the tweet out, but the first Cyberfrog books have been started to become delivered. And somebody took a picture. Yeah, it's very exciting. Took a picture of their Cyberfrog and the trading cards. And I have one coming. It's not in my mail yet today. I looked, but any day now, they're all going to start to come out. And that's really exciting for all of us. Because that's a passion project that helps to really define COMICSGATE. So we are smaller projects than anything like that, but we're happy to and thrilled to be smaller projects being part of something great like COMICSGATE. I want to thank everybody in the chat, everybody who comes here and interrupted the middle of their day. I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to do this chat before the end of the campaign so that people got to know about this. Oh, it's great to see Brian too. Oh, yeah. We could do a Western show. Brian does Six Gun Gorilla, which is a fantastic project. Beautiful, beautiful project. He has an upcoming cover from Kane White. But the other art is also beautiful, and it's a giant gorilla with pistols. So we could think about doing a theme show. I've got to get in touch with Brian. I've been talking to him for the last month or so, on and off. We just got to try to do as many of these shows quick as we can. But to me, I like doing what we did, Stephen, the most, where we can really just focus on your project, focus on you as a creator, let people know what it's about. If people have questions in the chat, answer their questions, and really just appreciate everybody who's part of the process, from the creator to the fans.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great one, Stephen, and great talking to you again. And thanks again, everybody in the chat. We really appreciate you. Go check out Dusty Tortillas.
Yes, please. Dusty Tortillas